Good afternoon. Good afternoon. In Bulgaria, as well in Zambia, in the Netherlands, everywhere else in the world. My name is Aurélien Lorange, and together with my colleague Anna Maria Urbanova from the Coax Foundation, we'll start this competition officially. First match, opening match of the competition for the Group A. Two teams, they are here. They received the topic 7 days ago, topic attached to the theme of this day one of the group phase. So now I give the floor to my colleague who will be hosting the match, Ms. Urbanova.
Thank you very much. And first of all, again, I would like to reiterate a grand welcome to our participating teams today. It's a pleasure to see returning teams, and it's my pleasure to be your host for this very first match of 2025 edition. As you know, the group phase day one has a common topic for all the debate matches, that is being climate change, state responsibility, and environmental law. Each debate statement is unique, and your teams have received one of those unique debate statements 7 days ago, as my colleague has said. So specifically on today's date, you will be debating on the subject whether or not, under the no harm rule, states are liable for environmental damage caused by their activities, and whether they must provide reparations to affected states. You'll find out shortly which side of the arguments you will be representing during the debate. But before we get to that point, I would like to give you the floor for introductions, and we will get then on the match. So starting with the University of Lusaka, I would like to ask Zizwani Mwale to present yourself.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Zizwani Mwale. I'm a second-year law student here at the University of Lusaka. And I'm so happy to be here, and I hope we have a great time, all of us, even our opponents and everyone else in the tournament. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. From the University of St. Clement Ochridsky, Sofia University, I would like to ask Ms. Nedelina Stoyanova.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to meet all of you. I hope we all have fun. I'm also a second-year law student, and let's do our best.
Thank you very much. Welcome. From University of Lusaka, Ms. Molina Kaluwe.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mulima Kalue. I'm a third-year student, and I'm very excited for this opportunity, and I can't wait to have this debate with everyone.
Thank you and welcome. From Sofia University, Ms. Karolina Hristova.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm also a second-year law student. I'm very excited about this competition, and I think we will have fun.
Thank you. Welcome. And completing the team as well for University of Lusaka, Ms. Mbulo Mbaba.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mwaba Mbulo, and I'm a third-year law student here at the University of Lusaka. I'm really excited to be here and to be participating in this tournament. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. I would also like to say warm welcome to the two coaches for the Sofia University team. I believe the University of Lusaka as well has two coaches on their side, so good day as well. So first, Sofia University, Ms. Maya Angelova and Mr. Professor Martin Kuchkov, as well as for the University of Lusaka, Professor Teresa Lubama Caputo and Ms. Nicole Danirabadzabvania. If you maybe have, for the coaches that are with us on the call, some encouraging words to share with the students.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited for this debate, and I wish both teams good luck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martin, and I'm thrilled that for another year our team participates as part of this year's edition of the Hague Inter-University Debate Tournament. And I hope everybody hones their debate skills and just improves themselves. And most importantly, they have fun.
Thank you. Thank you to you both. And I would also like to give a shout out and big thank you to our judges, in particular also the three judges that will be reviewing your match. As they are not with us currently on the call, they will be reviewing your match in the upcoming 2 business days. And after careful of reservations submitting their grading sheets, which we will be then happy to share with you. So really thank you as well to you, because it would not be possible to have the competition without the support of the judges and without the enthusiasm of the judges, as well, of course, the student participants and mentors. So without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to my colleague who will share the screen for the selection of the positions.
Yes, so now it is time for all of us to know which position each team will be defending today. So I will share my screen and you will see the wheel with the double flag and names of the two universities in a few seconds. So normally on WebEx on YouTube you should see the double flags. There are two chances for each university, either to be in favor, either to be against. So now I will click in the center and we'll know which position each team will defend. And the team in favor start. Huh? So this is University of Lusaka who is defending the position in favor of the motion. And as a consequence, this will be starting the match. We'll do the first introduction. And this will be Sofia University who will defend the position against the motion. So it means concretely that the University of Lusaka will be defending the position that under the no harm rule, states are liable for environmental damage caused by their activities and must provide reparations to affected states. While on the other side, the Sofia University will defend the position that under no harm rule, states are not liable for environmental damage caused by their activities and must not provide reparations to affected states. Now you have 5 minutes to review your notes, and then we will start with the introduction by the University of Lusaka. Here we are done with the famous preparation, so I will stop sharing my screen. Don't forget as well, but I say it as well for the audience, when there will be this yellow card on the screen, it means 30 seconds still left to finish the speaking time by the student speaking, and a red card is when time is over, you may not start another sentence, you can finish the sentence you were saying. And now we can start with the team in favor. Are you ready?
You will have 4 minutes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I will be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, esteemed judges and worthy opponents. I am the first speaker from the proposing delegation, proposing to the motion that states, under the no harm rule, states are liable for environmental damage caused by their activities and must provide reparations to affected states. I would like to start by defining the key terms of this motion. The no harm rule. The no harm rule is a customary international law principle recognized in Principle 2 of the Rio Declaration, stating that states must prevent activities within their jurisdiction from causing harm to the jurisdiction of others. Liable. This is a legal obligation to take responsibility for harm caused. Environmental damage. This is any harm caused to the natural environment that causes negative effects and is normally caused by human activities. This can be climate change and pollution. Reparations. This is compensation a state must provide to affected states. It doesn't only include financial support, but it also includes technical support and policy changes. Affected states. These are countries that have suffered negatively because of the environmental impacts of other states. And this can be seen in examples of where a state affects its neighbor through transboundary pollution. Now, let's get into our argument. We strongly propose to this motion because centuries through, we have seen that environmental damage has been deteriorating and states have not been held accountable, as can be seen through the Stockholm Declaration Principle 21. The Charles-Samuelson case brought up the principle stating that environmental damage should be protected while upholding a state's sovereignty. So even though a state has the right to develop its industry and its government and its country, it should not be at the expense of the natural environment, as was upheld in the Stockholm Declaration Principle 21, thus bringing upon the point of accountability. This ensures that states are held accountable for environmental damage and no further harm is done to the environment. This ensures that accountable states provide reparations to states that have been affected. This can be seen through a realistic example of the Democratic Republic of Congo and other states like the United States of America and China. These countries have been taken away from such a vulnerable nation without providing reparations. Not only does it infringe on the human rights of these nations, but it's been infringing on the global community as a whole. As we see, global issues have been increasing and states have not been providing reparations, thus infringing the human rights and the global community as a whole. When we look at the pulp mills case, it talks about an international environmental law principle stating preventative harm. It states that reparations are going to be important because it's going to ensure that states prevent activities that cause harm to the environment. It's going to ensure that states look to things like greener policies, activities that are going to better us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not looking at things that are not going to push us further into the future. We want policies right now that are practicable, that are going to ensure that even now, as we're facing rising sea levels, we want environmental issues to be pushed further away to the future to ensure that the environment is a safe place for us and for people in the future. Lastly, going back to the Charles-Melter case, it was established that reparations foster cooperation between nations. It was saying that Canada and the US work together to put up policies that continue to protect the environment and not cause harm to it. As they were discussing, they were bringing up policies that ensure each nation develops but not at the limit of the natural environment. It ensured that the environment was protected while a state continues to develop, and to ensure that countries are happy either way by developing their countries and protecting the environment. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to hear the opening statements of the team against the debate position. Sofia University, you have 4 minutes.
Am I audible and visible?
You are.
Okay, good afternoon to the fellow judges and to my colleagues from the University of Lusaka. On behalf of myself and my teammate Nedelina, we are very pleased to discuss the topic on why states should not be held liable for environmental damage caused by their activities and must not be obliged to provide reparations to the affected states. To begin with, the no harm rule may sound compelling in theory, but there are a lot of practical problems which make this rule rather counterproductive and unworkable. For example, there is no universal mechanism for the scope of liability of transboundary pollution and the sufficient reparations which will be given to the affected states. Moreover, without such a universal mechanism, the no harm rule is moreover optional. Dear judges, today we argue that states should not be obliged to provide reparations to the affected states because it's not an effective enforceable mechanism for the countries to protect environment. And in order to fully support our position, we would provide you with additional 3 arguments. Firstly, no harm rule is not a binding principle, and therefore it is ineffective in enforcing a workable system of effective payment of reparations. Secondly, reparations limit the economic development of countries as they give other countries financial resources rather than using them to investment in greener technologies and other policies. Lastly, the big companies should be the ones who pay reparations, as usually they are the biggest polluters in the states. To begin with, the no harm principle is not a binding rule and therefore is inefficient in enforcing states to pay reparations. There is no universally accepted mechanism for compelling countries to pay the awarded reparations, and this make the rule unworkable. Moreover, the no harm rule is an international law principle, and as such as all the others international law conventions and principles, it is based on reciprocity. Countries respect their obligations as long as there is the political will. And if they decide that they are not more interested in respecting their obligations, there is not force to make this country stay in the conventions. And in order to prove that, we'll show you the case before the International Court of Justice, Yılmaz versus Turkey, where the court awarded the affected state reparations, but Turkey refused to pay them. And so this is an example of the ineffectiveness of the reparations to prevent from environmental damages. Moreover, an example of counterproductivity of reparations is the Canada withdrawal from the Kyoto Protocol. The Canada government justified their withdrawal with the explanation that reparations were so big for the government that it is better for them to withdraw this protocol rather than paying the biggest sum of reparations. And those facts make the no harm rule unreliable measure to prevent environmental damage and recover already polluted areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have now heard the opening statements from both teams. Thus, we are now proceeding to the rebuttal part of the debate. Starting with the team in favor. University of Lusaka, you have 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
Good afternoon to the judges as well as to the opposing delegation. We as the proposers are here to argue that the no harm principle does indeed place liability upon states. It should, and it already does. We look to, for example, the Trail Smelter case, in which Canada was made to pay reparations to the US for environmental harm that had taken place. This having been a bilateral agreement, an arbitration case, placed broader implications upon the environmental and international community, in which it was reinforced again in the Costa Rica versus Nicaragua case, in which Nicaragua had paid reparations in regards to environmental harm that had taken place in Costa Rica, thereby showing that when it comes to reparations under the no harm principle, this is indeed applicable. And you might argue that it doesn't actually have any form of enforcement. However, these international states have a duty to acknowledge these principles. They don't exist just for them to not agree that they should follow them or not. They exist so that these states may acknowledge them, and then in regards to their own sovereignty, may indeed choose to place liability upon themselves or not to place liability upon themselves. In addition to this, the no harm principle is a guideline. Therefore, it is applied in terms of international conventions as well as domestic conventions. Like, for example, here in Zambia, we have our own Environmental Management Act, which itself has domesticated the no harm principle, thereby showing that there is indeed a form of liability that may be found, as we have our own version in this country. In addition to this, it might not be unjust or unfair for these reparations to be expected of multiple states. As was mentioned, Canada had withdrawn because of the payment of reparations, but under the no harm principle in environmental law, we have principles such as common but differentiated responsibility, in which states who have a much wealthier and developed state are held to be more liable in reference to paying reparations, to give time and more leniency to developing states and less wealthy states who don't actively have to pay for every instance of reparations. And in addition to this, reparations makes reference to compensation. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
Thank you. Sofia University debate team, you will now have 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, I will start. So first, I want to I want to thank the proposition team for all their statements, but I would like to shift our attention to something that the proposition team mentioned, which is Congo, and how the United States and China does not pay reparations to this country. Wouldn't reparations cause tension in the international law field? Wouldn't cause tension because it doesn't really fix the problem. It just enables rich countries like China and like the United States to pay reparations and continue ruining the ecological development of smaller countries. And now, as regards to our second argument, I would like to state that economy should not be ignored when we speak about ecology. And the no harm rule, although it was established in principle number 2 of the Rio Declaration, and while essential for environmental protection, it can severely limit the economic development of states, as I've already mentioned. Although it acknowledges that states have the sovereign right to exploit the resources, it is very restricting for countries. It's very limiting. And this is exactly why the United States made the decision to leave the Paris Agreement, because it was harmful to their economy, and they decided to preserve their economy rather than jeopardize it in a way. Now, the International Court of Justice has also justified this principle in several rulings. For example, the pulp mills case, as the countries have an obligation to prevent environmental harm, but this could very much limit the development and the economic development of countries, and the jeopardization of economical development can also limit the ecological development of states. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Passing the floor now to a team of University of Lusaka for your second rebuttal. You have 2 minutes.
All right, I will begin in 3, 2, 1. Again, before I proceed, I would like to thank all my colleagues for their well-spirited arguments. Now, before I proceed, I have some issues with some of the arguments from the opposing delegation, which I hope were made inadvertent. Firstly, they mentioned that there is no universal mechanism used to attach this enforcement or liability. Also, they say that the no harm principle is not a binding system. However, as we can see in the Charles Nota case, the court in that case awarded reparations to the United States because of the harm that was caused by Canada. As such, we can directly see that in this instance, there is liability. In fact, it is civil liability, in which if a state takes another state to court, to the ICJ or any arbitral process, then at that point we can award liability. Secondly, they also said that it will lead to economic disadvantages to other states. However, this doesn't make sense because, as my colleague stated previously, that there is common but differentiated responsibilities. This means that if a state, for example, is a developing country, that means they will have less efficiency when coming to deal with waste, which may lead to environmental damage to the neighboring states. However, because of the nature of their economy and because they are common but differentiated responsibilities, these states will not be able to pay reparations as the way a developed state would. Now, us as a proposing delegation, we are here to propose that actually enforcement is feasible. As I stated earlier, and as my colleague stated, we can see that through court process and through arbitral processes, we can hold states liable by attaching civil liability. Secondly, we want to push as a proposing delegation that justice must prevail in all instances. Imagine we live in a world where states can deal environmental damage, which sometimes may be irreversible to other states, and they won't be held liable for this. They must be obligated to pay the reparations in order to make sure that the states that are affected get what they need. The Chorizo factory case actually states that when there's a breach of an agreement, the obligation to pay reparations arises. As such, us as the proposing delegation submit that these reparations must be paid. I submit.
Thank you. We'll now proceed to the second rebuttal of the against position. Sofia University debate team, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Then I shall start. Well, first, I want to thank the proposition team for their arguments, but I would like to disagree with the argument that no harm rule ensures environmental justice. We disagree because environmental justice should focus on mitigation and adaptation rather than punitive actions, which is reparations. And punishing states financially does not solve the underlying environmental issues, whereas investment in shared solutions can foster long-term sustainability. And thus, we would like to present our third and final argument, which is that it's not the states who cause the most harm. It is the big corporations, the corporations that work in industries like the oil industry, in mining, in manufacturing, and so on and so on. These companies should be the ones that are held financially responsible, especially when we step on the principle of the polluter pays, which is a principle just as established as the no harm rule in international law. And by making corporations pay, we ensure that they internalize the true cost of their actions. And also in principle number 7 of the Rio Declaration, it is supported that by holding businesses accountable for environmental degradation, we're emphasizing the economic activities that economic activity shouldn't come at the expense of the environment. And this is, and here I'm going to give an example of an oil spill from 1989, which is the Exxon Valdez oil spill. And this oil spill shows that corporations should and can be held liable for their actions, not the states, because we shouldn't make the taxpayers pay. We shouldn't make the people pay for the environmental damage caused by companies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes the rebuttal stage of the debate. We'll now proceed to the conclusions. Starting with the position in favor, University of Lusaka, you have 2 minutes.
I thank the opposition for their submissions, but what we're here to argue for is the fact that when we look at the no harm principle, we're not looking towards punishing states. We're looking towards fostering some form of cooperation between states in that they'll be held accountable and there'll be some form of transparency between these states. As we've argued, the no harm principle is placed upon these states not to go against them and try to gain monetary funds from them. We've argued that when it comes to undeveloped states, they'll be able to, whether it is back out or be able to pay at a lower rate. And when it comes to states that are actively historically responsible, they will have to pay for what they have done. In addition to this, it has been argued that states shouldn't be the ones held accountable when it comes to the people, but corporations rather. However, we're here to argue that when it comes to the international community, we are looking at states. We're looking at what states have done to each other at a bigger scale. Therefore, we need principles like the no harm principle to place obligations and liabilities upon these states in relation to environmental harm. Furthermore, as I stated, what we're looking towards under the no harm principle is that this is a dynamic principle. It is indeed enforceable, as we had stated in the Charles Smelter case, in conventions, as well as in domestic relations. As the opposition had mentioned, that we're looking towards principles under the Rio Declaration. This is quite literally proof that the no harm principle as a dynamic principle. may be supplemented in conventions. It does not exist on its own. The polluter pays principle, the common but differentiated responsibility. These are derivative. International law is not meant to be stagnant, nor is it meant to be some form of hard law. What we're looking towards is the international community fostering accountability and cooperation, not to punish one another. Therefore, what we as proposers feel that we have accurately argued is that the no harm principle does indeed push liability and obligations, not towards punishment, but towards compensation, reparations, and even restoration. We're being realistic in that environmental damage will indeed always happen, but we're not here to actively restore it to the previous state. We're here to make compensation. With that, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to University of Lusaka for your submission. Sofia, University debate team, you have 2 minutes for your conclusions.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Yeah. I thank you to the other team for their arguments, but we would like to not to agree with them, because reparations are not means of cooperations between countries. They're like punishment, and they do not help the international cooperation. They prevent from it. And also the process in awarding reparations are really slow. For example, in the case Chevron versus Ecuador, 13 years, the process has not come to an end. And this is an example why reparations did not lead to the intended results. The sides just argue with one another. And dear judges, first of all, we pointed out that the no harm rule is not a binding international principle and is not effective in enforcing countries to pay reparations. Secondly, we pointed out that reparations limit the economic development of countries because financial resources are given to other states instead of being used for greener technologies and in some kind of investments. And lastly, we argued that reparations should be taken by the biggest firms and private business, because they are usually the biggest polluters in the states, and the countries in democratic systems have not the means to influence the decisions of the private sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to Sofia University team for your submissions as well. You can now relax. This marks the official end of your debate. You are no longer graded after this part. Feel free to turn back your cameras. Before we end the session of the first match, we would like to give you the opportunity to briefly reflect on your research, on your preparation, on your first match itself. And on that note, I would like to ask perhaps from the team of University of Lusaka, starting with Ms. Molima Kalube, to give a shorter feedback of how you found the topic, the research, or perhaps the match itself.
It was an interesting topic, especially because as a third-year student, we've just recently gotten into environmental law. So it was interesting to apply principles that our lecturers have taught us into our own debates, and then to go further into our own research with different statutes and acts that we might not look into. It was interesting getting to finally have my first formal debate, so that was fun. And yeah, I hope that we get to go further and that the opposition also had a fun time with us, because I did. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The same question to the Sofia University team, perhaps starting with Ms. Stoyanova. How did you find the research, the topic, and the match itself?
The topic was very interesting. I haven't really read much about environmental law before this topic, so it was something new and very different from what I usually read and from what I usually find very interesting. But it's definitely a topic that deserves our attention, especially as future lawyers and people who probably work in the international law field, as ecological problems are a very big issue in our generation. So it was really nice to get more knowledgeable regarding this. I also want to really thank the other team. It was very interesting, very cool. And I think they really did a great job. So all the respect to you, and it was very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. From back to University of Lusaka's team, Mr. Mwale, how did you find perhaps the research on the arguments? Were you surprised by any of the arguments from the opposing team?
No, I think actually they did their research pretty well, because since we were doing research for both sides, I could see that most of the things they were saying were things that I found out as well. So I think we concurred on most of their points, and I think they were pretty strong arguments. So I feel all in all, it was a really good debate. It was also useful and very beneficial for us to see the other points of view of them, because in as much as we may have had the similar points, at least it was good to see the different ways in which you could bring it up by listening to their arguments. So all in all, it was a really interesting debate, and I had lots of fun to be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Same question now to the Sofia University team, Ms. Hristova. How did you find the research, and were there any arguments of the other team that surprised you?
The research and all the preparations were really interesting to me. I learned a lot of curious information, different cases, and we didn't study environmental law, so it was a new topic to me, but also practical and yes, very interesting. And the arguments of the other team were also very interesting. Some of them I knew. I learned also new things, yes, and it was really useful for me.
Thank you. For University of Lusaka, as you have a third member, I will address this question to you specifically, but then the same question to both Ms. Hristova and Stoyanova, so you can choose which one of you will answer, or maybe both. So, Ms. Bulo, how did you find the topic? Of course, the research and the match, but is there anything that you might have found in regards to preparation in general for the debate tournament that maybe your coaches already shared with you, as they have at this point quite an experience from the past edition?
I think for me, the motion stood out because I think it was very practicable, because we were looking at how states are not protecting the environment. So it was looking at solutions that everyone can provide wherever they are from to help safeguard the environment in the future. So I think it was upholding the principles of international environmental law, like preventative harm, precautionary harm, sustainable development, showing that yes, we're a new world, the countries keep developing, our nations keep developing, but we cannot put our environment in danger because we want to live in a healthy environment and leave it in good condition for the future. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. And then also for the Sofia team, how was it maybe for you in regards to preparation? Your coaches, we see familiar names and faces over the edition, so it's always a pleasure, as well as for the Lusaka team. So did you have any particular tips maybe from your mentors on the format, perhaps?
Okay, so I can see that nobody's taking part, so I'll get the word. So yeah, as previous competitors in this tournament, we had a lot of tips that we have gathered over the years, over the past 4 years of our university competing in this tournament. And we also had a lot of like case law like that we have stored over the years, and different conventions, declarations that further helped us to really speed up the process of research and to really help the current competitors to really look at specific conventions and declarations that are connected to the environmental law, so that they can be faster in order to build their arguments and to really know what to focus on. So yeah, there was a lot of information for them. I'm sure they can also agree.
Well, thank you very much for this background information. We are quite excited, and there will be quite a few opportunities during this year's edition for the teams, if you're interested, to share your preparation process with the other participants, and also maybe future participants too. I would like to also maybe take this moment to thank the Oxford University Press for sharing this year the extended access to their law trove. So definitely for the students, maybe like yours in Sofia University, and as well as that didn't have yet the topic, that might be the focus of the match, as well as the students, as in the team from University of Lusaka that have had this topic before, to use the resource, to find more materials. Definitely do not hesitate to reach out as well to the organizing team if you would like to have some maybe additional support if that is necessary. So once again, thank you to both teams as well as to our partner organizations. And as is the tradition for the end of the match, since this is the very first one and we are delighted to have returning universities join in, a little bit of networking perhaps. Of course, we know that it's not the first time your teams, your universities have participated in the tournament. So perhaps it's already, there is no answer for why your team chose to participate in the competition, but perhaps what might be more pertinent is how did you do your internal selections? So perhaps starting with the team of University of Lusaka, if you would like to share with us. Okay, perhaps the technical yes, perfect.
Hi, sorry, we had a bit of a network difficulty. Would you mind repeating?
Yes, happy to. So as your team, it's not the first time your university has participated in tournaments, so perhaps not why you chose to participate as the team, but perhaps individually on your reason for participation, and in general, how did your team get selected?
Through our selection process was actually quite, it came in stages. So what we did was we had different teams and then we'd go through mock debates as well as getting feedback, and then that's when we reached the final selection for our team. And otherwise, in relation to why we decided to do this debate, our school is very moot and debate oriented. So there's a lot of pushing and confidence in relation to these types of events. And they're also they're very good in terms of getting us to be in these competitions with, they're able to place us in these competitions. They're able to get us to actively want to be in these competitions. So even though for me personally, this has been my first ever formal debate, I knew that I was in good hands, especially because we've had our coaches as well as information from the previous team. So yes, this was a very good experience for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback. For the Sofia University team, how was it for you? What was the motivation maybe for you personally to join the debates? And how was the selection process for you, your team?
Maybe I could answer that as the coach.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it was the selection process was as follows. First of all, we did posters which we put all over our university, also on Facebook, and we had a few people that wanted to participate. So we first of all, based on their CVs and their motivational letters, chose Karolina and Nedelina, and then we made, let's say, a rehearsal debate to see how they work together, how they cooperate, are they fluent in English, and they did pretty well. So we chose them as our final team, and yeah, we are very pleased with with their work so far. And yeah, that's it. That was it from us. Marta, if you could add anything.
Yes, I would also like to add that usually in the years before this year, we actually had a selection process and we had different teams. And whenever there are more candidates, we form different teams and they have a debate from which we select the team that we would like to represent Sofia University. And also for us, it's not very, very important to for the competitors to be somebody who has debate like experience in the past. Like it's always a bonus, but we're not actually having it as an official requirement because we actually believe in like teaching them the different debating skills and actually making them learn something so they get the most out of this experience, and at the end of the competition they can actually say that they have achieved and tried something new out of their comfort zone. So yeah, basically that's it.
Thank you very much. Now we are almost at the end, and we have a last question, very last question for the students. So in Lusaka and in Sofia, could you please open the camera? It's a question which is based on what you would offer to the other team. So concretely, if we have the students from Sofia University who go to Lusaka, what should be the first food they should try?
I think.
Sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry, I misunderstood.
yes, you will have the same question, but first, in Lusaka.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd say that they'd probably be good trying shima, which is the main meal in our country. A very filling meal, a very good meal. They probably enjoy it. It can go with almost any form of relish, meat, chicken. Very enjoyable for our people. So that's what I suggest. Yeah.
Okay. So and yes, you want to add as well? Is there another food or next to it something to eat in Lusaka? No?
And I'm the main one here. I'm very well versed in this. You also have pumpkin leaves or bisashi, our favorite, one of my favorite vegetables. So that would be very enjoyable as well. You guys know?
Yeah, we agree.
And munkoyo, traditional drink, you love it.
Okay, so we'll try this. Now, the first time that the team from Lusaka will land in Bulgaria. So what they should eat when they arrive in Sofia. I've been in Bulgaria personally, so I know a bit, but what they should eat. So I don't know if Karina or Nedelina, you want to tell, yeah.
I'll start and then maybe Carolina can add, but because I got a bit confused and I started talking, so I'm sorry about that. But I think the first thing they should try if they come to Bulgaria is something very specifically traditionally ours, which I would say is banica. Like banica, it's a pastry with white cheese. It's not the Greek feta cheese. We have our traditional Bulgarian cheese. It's very tasty. And I would accompany banica with either ayran, which is Bulgarian yogurt with water, and sometimes they add salt. That's really nice. It's very refreshing, perfect for summer when you're dehydrated and it's very hot. Or I would eat it while drinking buza, which I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's a fermented drink. It's very good for the gut health. And it's also very sweet, and sweet with salty is just a great combination, but not everybody like it, so yeah, that's what I would personally suggest.
Okay. Karina, Miss Ristova, so do you have another one to add?
I want to add the bob. It's in Bulgarian called bob, and it's beans, but make it in a specific way in Bulgaria. And it's one of the most famous traditional dishes with vegetables, herbs, and the way it is prepared is what makes this beans special Bulgarian traditional dish.
Okay, so we'll try. have to say that your country, I mean Bulgaria, is very famous in France, in my country, for yogurt. And when I've been there, I've seen that there is a lot of space for yogurts in the market. So yes, I can testify that yes, you are expert very much about it, and they are very tasty as well. So thank you very much. Now it is time to, of course, end this session. The judge will be watching the part of the match, obviously, several times if they want, until Monday evening. So 2 working days, 2 business days. So it was very nice. Congratulations for your start of the competition. You are in the group A, so it means that you will be meeting the 2 other universities which are in the group A. They will have the match during the next days, and for you it will be in 2 weeks that you will have your second match of the group phase. So thank you again for everything, and it was a great start of the competition. My colleague and myself will be happy to see you, and not only us, as well everybody watching as well on YouTube currently, so greetings to everybody as well watching. Yes, in 2 weeks there will be a second match for these 2 teams, but separately with other teams. So next week the rest of the competition, of course, with the other groups, and of course enjoy all the match and support your university if you are from those universities, but as well look at the techniques and the style from other universities as well. So thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Benova, and it was a great afternoon, and wish you all, of course, a good rest of the week and a good weekend, and don't hesitate to watch the other match as well, because you might have a match against ZAM. Thank you in Lusaka, thank you as well in Bulgaria, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Well done today.
Well done, bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a success.